Good morning. So in this video, I'm going to instruct on how to vacuum the pool. We are at the start of the season here in 2023, and as you can see, the pool is super gross. There's already been a ton of leaves that have been fished out and some other debris. We've had Georgie, our robot, going on it, but it's definitely time to vacuum out a bunch of stuff. So the very first step to setting up your vacuuming is to make sure that whatever pump you will be using off of the skimmer, you are going to turn that pump off. So we have two pumps here, and these back three skimmers are on pump 2. And these front skimmers up here by the diving board and also here by the kiddie pool are on pump 1. So I'm going to start by vacuuming off of the pump 1 skimmers. So I've turned these two off, and I intend to use my vacuum through this skimmer right here to start with. So what I want to do, and this is the reason you turn it off first, is because I want to plug up wherever the skimmer would be drawing in water from the ones that I am not using, so that I can get maximum suckage through the others. So I grab one of these little stoppers. They're usually just in the pump room. Now they are in different sizes, so just be mindful of it. That's one reason why we turn it off, is because if you get too small of one and you try to stick it down into the pipe, it can get sucked in if it's sucking. So it's best to turn them off. So in this one, the back opening down below is where it sucks. So I have put that one in there, and then I will be attaching my vacuum through here. This is the vacuum hose. It's usually hanging up in the women's restroom over here, up on that little rail thingy. And this is the vacuum attachment. It is generally situated in this side closet over here, or sometimes it's hanging out here, or from season to season somebody may put it elsewhere in the pump room, or in the supply closet. I've seen it in there occasionally too. But this is the vacuum attachment. Okay, next I have got my vacuum head, and I've collected the hose. There's two different ends to the hose. This one, the blue end, it also is labeled, it says to connect to your vacuum head. That's how you know that it goes in this one. And this one is going to go down into the skimmer. I have turned back on my pump, so you can kind of see there's a little bit of whirlpool suction going on there. But the next step is we want to make sure that we attach this, but it's really important that we keep air out of our pump system. So we need to fill this hose with water first before we attach it. We need to be as full as we can with water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower my vacuum in. You can see I've attached the head to a pole. I've done our longest pole because when I'm in the deep end, I want to make sure that I can reach everything. So I'm going to lower this in, and as I go, I'm going to fill my hose with water, and I'm not going to record that, but I'll show you when I'm done. So the easiest method for making sure it has water in it is to just push down the hose as you are putting it into the water. So make sure that it gets plenty of push down into the water, and you can usually tell when the water is doing well because it starts to come up through the hose. I don't know if you can see that, but it's hitting the mark right there, so that's great. We've got water coming out, so that means the hose is full. So for this particular pump, this one feeds through the side. So I come through the skimmer. I don't know if that's very visible, but I come through the skimmer, and then this one hooks up down below. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right, I've got it all plugged in. I just wanted to show you what that looks like. This one goes in this direction. Most of them are up and down vertical, but this one's horizontal. So I found that it's best to feed it through horizontally through the skimmer this way, and then off into the pool. When I come in to restart the pump, I've got a couple of options. This is pump 1. You can see I've already got it turned off. And my options are I can vacuum through the filter and everything will go through the filter system, or if I want to bypass it, I can vacuum straight to our waste system, which will eliminate all the water that it sucks up, which is what I want to do today. So I lift this up and I rotate clockwise. If you've never used these before, you can check out some other videos, but essentially you always rotate clockwise and only do it when your pump is off. So I'm going to restart this, and I'm going to restart straight to waste. The one thing I do want to mention though is if you're going to use waste, you definitely want to make sure that you've got plenty of water into the pool, because all of that water gets drained as you go. So you can see we've been filling up the pool with water and it's exceptionally high. So we've got it prepped and ready to go. All right, as far as vacuuming technique goes, it's an awful lot like vacuuming a carpet. You're gonna work it nice and slow, because if you go too vigorous, then you tend to kick up all of the debris, and we're working on pulling up the debris, not putting it back into the circulation system. So we wanna be able to suck it up. So we vacuum the same sort of fashion, pull out, tilt the head, and pull back in for a spell. So in a minute, after I'm done with this area, I'll kind of show you how I do it. But essentially, I like to do this area first, the shallow end, the kiddie pool, and then I come over on these back skimmers, switch it to pump 2, and then I do the last of the shallow end and then the deep end over there. A special note though is, as you're going, just make sure that you keep the head under the water, because we want to keep water in that hose. So if you decide to go over and do the kiddie pool, make sure you turn off the pump first, move the head, make sure it's full of water, and then restart it. And same story when you come over to these other pumps. If you use these other ones, make sure of course you turn the pumps off, put them to waste, set the other pumps back to their normal cycle. Like if you're done with these ones, then you put pump 1 back onto its cycle. But anyway, just make sure that you always keep water into the hose. All right, I'm about halfway done with my vacuum from this set of pumps right here. So I actually vacuumed into the deep end over here, and just kind of, you can see how this side is still gross and this one is a little bit cleaner. So, and I vacuumed all along the slide and along this side. And I've come to this point. Today I'm probably gonna skip the kiddie pool, but this is normally where I would do the kiddie pool. You can also see that I've got my fill water coming in, and that's important because you have to have water in order for the skimmers to work. And so you want to put that in whether or not you're going from waste or through the filters, depending on, whatever you're doing. But either way, you want to have fill water, because if it's going to waste, then you're losing a ton of water. And then if you're vacuuming through the filters, when you are complete, you're definitely going to want to backwash the filters, in which case you will need to have more water as well. Also, side note here that I didn't really mention before, if you're doing this as part of your weekly maintenance, I recommend vacuuming before you add in any of your major chemicals, because obviously you're getting new water and you're going to be backwashing if you're running through the filters, or if you're running it straight to waste, you're losing water. So you don't want to dilute those valuable chemicals. So I usually vacuum first and then put in any chemicals. And next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to vacuum this other side of the shallow end as far as I can get off of this pump, and then I will swap it to one of these back skimmers. So I am still in the middle of my second half of vacuuming off of this pump 1, and I run across an interesting problem that I need to problem solve, and I thought I should document it because you might run across it too. So I have actually run out of suction power. Like, it's just not sucking stuff up. And so what I've done is I've come in and I've turned off pump 1 right here, and I noticed that my little filter here, I've already taken it out, that's why it was up. My filter is loaded full of gunk and I'm not getting any suction through there. So I'm gonna go ahead and empty this filter and see if that does the trick. All right, so update, that was very helpful to clean it out, but I noticed that about 5 minutes later, I was still losing some suction power. So I came in here and found that my filter was packed again. So I emptied it out for the second time, and now I've turned it back onto the waist, and I'm just gonna stand here for a minute, and you can kind of see, actually I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but I can see that there's all sorts of stuff getting collected in the filter right there, even without me vacuuming. So I'm gonna go ahead and just wait a second and then empty this a third time and see if I can get most of this gunk out of our system. And this is what it looks like just after a third time, waiting for just a couple of minutes. So I might do this a few more times until it's pretty clear. Now I have finished using pump one, all right, over here. So you can see I vacuumed along here, across here, came across the back. Today I skipped the kiddie pool, but another day I might have popped over there and done it. And then over here, I did all of this side. And there is one little area over here that just cannot quite be reached. It's kind of like this triangle. So typically somebody has to go into the pool and vacuum that up if you're gonna get the last of that. Next on my docket is I've turned off the pump, and I'm gonna come and unplug everything. You can kind of see this one was just like laying in there, and that is a good indication that you have turned off and you don't have any suction coming there. So there's that one, and then I'm gonna come detach this friend over here. And a couple of tips is I've got my pole secured over here by the railing so that it doesn't go anywhere. And I'm gonna come and detach this. Some people leave these off as you're vacuuming, but I have found that occasionally I'll back into this and I don't wanna step in it. So I always put them back on, but that's not important. Okay, I'm gonna undo this one. Oh my goodness, I don't think I can video while I do that. Okay, I'm just gonna do it. Okay, so I've detached that over off of pump one, and now I've come over here to take care of it and put it back up onto pump two. If you park your, I forgot to say, if you park your vacuum pole a little bit closer over on the shallow end, you can actually walk the end of the hose over and around, but I didn't do that. So I just ended up throwing it across the pool, which I typically do when I'm over in the deep end and I need to throw something. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it over to this skimmer, but I just have to make sure that I keep this full of water. So I'm going to pull it up, and with this particular one, I'm going to make sure it's full of water, and I'm going to go up and over into here and stick it down here into the place where it is collecting water. And you can just kind of stick your hand in and feel where it is. I still got this pump on right now, and I can feel that it's the back one right here that is sucking the water. The other one is an exchange. So that's where I'm gonna put it. So right now I'm gonna go turn off pump two and start my process again. All right, wrapping up vacuuming. What I did here in the deep end is I hooked up to this far skimmer over here, ended up using that far skimmer to finish off that side and get clear over into the deep end. Then I hooked up to this one and I vacuumed along here and across the back, and then I took it across and vacuumed from that direction so that it was coming this way and ended up by the slide. And our water is so gross right now that we've already got tons of stuff settling, and even though I just spent almost 3 hours vacuuming, we have still got stuff that has resettled. So that's gonna require another vacuuming up front. And this time around, I also ended up with a lot of cleaning out of that pump. So I had the same situation with pump two when I was using these back skimmers. I ended up cleaning up the filter several times when I started to lose some power. One final note about vacuuming. It's so important that we don't get air into the pump. So occasionally this will pop off while you are vacuuming, and if that happens, I try to catch it and keep it underwater with my pole. So I try to keep it down with that until I can reattach it. Or if it's too far out in the pool and I just can't get to it and I see that it happens, I'll run in, I'll go turn off the pump until I can get it reattached, because once that is unattached, it tends to float to the top of the water and then it can collect water. And same story goes, occasionally it will get detached inside the skimmer. That usually happens when your skimmers are getting low of water. So just keep an eye out for that as well. And you can kind of tell when the skimmers get low, they kind of get like a gurgling type of sound. And at that point, it's time to stop vacuuming if your water's got low. So even though I've been running this fill water for the 3 hours that I've been here, while I was vacuuming, you can see that we lost several inches. So the fill water is just going to stay on for quite a while until it gets all the way full up again, because we need to vacuum again. And in the meantime, I've got Georgie going to help. So typically how the pool runs is Georgie gets put in every night by the monitor and gets taken out, and then runs another cycle in the morning while the opener is here, and then the opener cleans him out for the day. And then once a week we vacuum and do this deep vacuuming. That's typically reserved on Saturday or Sunday when there's not team in the morning. And if there happens to be a windstorm and there's tons of leaves and things on deck, then that can affect it as well. So sometimes we require an extra vacuuming, and a way to avoid vacuuming is to make sure that the deck stays clean. We haven't opened season yet, but you can tell that there's a lot of leaves and debris, and that really adds to it. So that, my friends, is all about vacuuming. Now you're experts.